let's talk about the last few books that I read in 2021. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now for today's video, I'm going to be talking about the last couple of books that I read in December 2021. I started doing wrap-ups last year because I figured that that was a great opportunity for me to summarize all the books that I read, a great opportunity for me to be discovered by YouTube because wrap-ups are just so popular, and then also wrap-ups are just a general fan favorite of many booktubers. It's just something that you can easily digest, you can easily consume, and you know exactly what that favorite booktuber of yours read that month. But unfortunately for me, I gave up well in the middle of the year, mostly because I read too much every single month. It takes a long time for me to summarize all the books, and sometimes I just don't want to talk for that long in front of the camera. And also, a lot of people also voiced their opinions and said that wrap-ups were their least favorite because the booktuber themselves would just keep talking about those same books already in the other videos that they posted throughout the month. So what was the point? So it got really repetitive. Anyways, long story short, I wanted to sit down and talk to you guys about some of the last books that I read last year in the last month because they were actually notable. They were so fun. I wanted to talk about them so that you guys can have some books to add to your TBR, and they deserve this mention. So the first book that I want to talk about is actually from Emma Hart. Emma Hart and I have a love-hate relationship. Sometimes I love her books. Sometimes I don't like her books. But this time around, I've been hitting my stride. I feel like I've been liking more and more of her recent releases, and the most recent release series that I've read from her is the Introverts Guide. So the first book in the series is called the Introverts Guide to Online Dating. This features our female heroine who wants to get back into the dating scene, who wants to have a stable relationship, who wants to have a boyfriend, so she decides to sign up for online dating. The only thing that's kind of stopping her from having that full-fledged relationship is the fact that she currently has a friends with benefits relationship with her enemy in the friend group. Basically, they've been secretly hooking up for a very long time, and they haven't told their friend group ever because they don't want to explain themselves and they don't want to be really diving deeper into their own emotions for each other because they supposedly hate each other. So they have this very easy breezy friendship until she decides to take things a little bit more seriously with her romantic life, and it's then where our hero steps in and thinks to himself if he wants to let her go, pursue something else, or if he's going to put in the work and put in the effort to try to convince her that the right person for her is actually him all along. I really enjoyed this one. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was the classic storyline that really grips you, that makes you feel that angsty pull, that makes you want to thump your head against the wall because you have two characters who are clearly destined for each other, but they just both are just so clueless with their own feelings that they take a longer time than expected to really understand it. But regardless, it was a short, fun story, and I hopped into book number 2. Okay, so book number 2 is called The Introvert's Guide to Speed Dating. This features a single parent female heroine. Our female heroine got pregnant at a very young age, had a baby, and then now her child is kind of not a toddler, but is in elementary school, still in his developing years, and she is being forced to go on speed dates because everybody in the friend group, everybody in the family notices that she's single and that she could spend more time on herself and to really go back into that dating scene to find someone that she really cares about. So she goes on the speed dating event, and to her surprise, the person that sits down in front of her is her son's really attractive soccer coach. And what do you know? Fireworks happen. Chemistry is off the charts. They fall in love, or at least they like each other a lot, and they can't stop thinking about each other. But they also know that it's kind of taboo to date each other, mostly because they have a parent-teacher relationship, and they're not sure if the son is going to be okay with it. And then, of course, there are also many factors that play around. Personally, I don't really care for the single mom trope because I don't know, it's just something that just doesn't really make me want to pick up the book very quickly. But because of the success of the first book, I decided to pick up book number 2, and I really enjoyed this one too as well. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought our hero was perfect. He's really great with kids. He's really kind. He's very considerate with our female heroine. He's very patient with her too as well, because she has her own things that she needs to deal with, that she needs to work through, and he's just kind of there every step of the way. So I really enjoyed it. So I hopped into book number 3. So book number 3 is called The Introvert's Guide to Blind Dating. And this one is a different approach. It's our female heroine who is a baker. She's really good at, making cakes, making delicious creations. And our hero is new in town. He's come in town because he needs to write his next novel. He's hit a writing slump and he's looking for inspiration. Our hero is also a romance author, and he unfortunately wrote his character to become like a baker, and he knows nothing about baking. So he decides to pay our heroine to teach him how to bake so that he can write it in his novel. And of course, any recipes that she creates, he's going to write in his novel too, and he's going to pay her. So they kind of have like this working relationship. Of course, it develops from friends to lovers into something more, but the problem is that our hero isn't here for the long run. He's literally going to be here for a couple more weeks until he finishes his novel, and once he finishes, he's not going to be here anymore. But they obviously fall in love, and it's up to him to decide how he's going to try to convince her that he's here to stay and that he is going to be permanent. I really like this one too. I gave this one closer to a 4 out of 5 stars, but it's really like a 3.5 out of 5 stars, mostly because it didn't really have that angst that I like in my novels. Although I did really enjoy their nice conversations they have with each other, because they're just so sweet and so caring with each other. Okay, so I moved into like new adult in December too as well. I was looking for contemporary reads that were very light and easy to read, mostly because it's December. Everybody has the winter blues. I wanted to read some feel-good romances, and this one was on the top of my list. I think I already read this book already, and then I reread it again, but I'm not too sure. But this one's called On a Tuesday by Whitney G, and this involves one of my favorite tropes. Our hero is a sports legend. He's really good at sports, but he needs to hit the books too as well to maintain his status on the team. He is a football player. And our heroine is textbook smart. She's really good at studying. She just loves books. She just loves keeping up with her grades. And she's been tasked to teach this jock how to study and how to improve his GPA, or else he's not going to have a spot on the team. But from what I remembered, and if I remember correctly, our hero is actually already smart. Like, he reads and he studies, but it's just like there's just some grades that are just kind of like here and there, and he needs to improve himself. And on a Tuesday is when they always meet for their tutoring sessions. And of course, with tutoring sessions and that one-on-one basis, lots of chemistry happens. Sparks fly, and they start bordering line into kind of like a friends to lovers romance. And I just really enjoyed it a lot. I also forgot to mention that On a Tuesday is like a time jump romance. It goes from past to present a lot. In the present time, they've broken up, they hate each other, and they don't know why she broke up with him. And then in the past, they have like this really fluffy romance. It's a little bit dramatic, but I really enjoyed it anyways, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was On a Wednesday, and this is part of like their 1 week series by Whitney G. So this is the next book, and this involves our hero and heroine working together on her project because she's writing a thesis statement, and then they develop a friends to lovers romance once again. But then what happens is that life is their biggest villain, I guess. It's like the conflict of the story. Our heroine is off to fly to London, and our hero is drafted into a professional football team. So then now they have to decide what to do with what they're presented, with their opportunities. Do they give up their dreams to pursue a relationship, or is it a long distance relationship? There's just so many factors playing into this book. I enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was a short and quick read. Okay, so the next book that I read was Always Only You, and it's part of the Bergman Brothers series by Chloe Liese. This one follows our female heroine who has some issues with her body that causes her to walk with a cane, and she has a lot of physical bodily pain too as well from her condition, but she doesn't let life stop her because of her body. The one thing that she does do is to keep everything professional when she's at work. I think she's like a social media manager for like this hockey team, and she's really close with all the guys on the hockey team. But then the one thing is that she's also really attracted to our hero. And our hero is so sweet. He's so kind. He's always looking out for her. He's always making sure that she's comfortable. She's very cold, and she always likes to turn him down, but he doesn't give up without a fight, and he always pursues her. And it's like that story where he falls in love with her first, and it's that kind of romance. I enjoyed it. It took a little bit longer for me to get into, mostly because our heroine was a lot colder than I expected, but I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. And then I read book number 3 in the series, called Ever After Always by Chloe Liese, and this one is a second chance romance / marriage in trouble. Our hero and heroine are married, but they recently have been hit with like the worst things ever. They just don't communicate anymore, and they're looking for a divorce because they are not happy with each other anymore. He's very confused by this because he thought that he once had it all. He thought that she was deeply in love with him, but then suddenly she's very upset, she's crying, and she's very sad. And they are forced to go on vacation together as like kind of like this like one last thing that they do so that they can make this marriage work. And it's there where we learn that our hero is actually on the spectrum, and it takes a longer time for him to talk about his emotions and to really like say the things that is on his mind. And our heroine is very frustrated by this because she really wants him to communicate, and she wants to have open conversations and to talk about the things that are bothering with each other. So they have to learn to kind of fall in love with each other again and to properly communicate with each other. I thought that this one was very like hot and cold for me. It was very a push and pull effect. There were moments where I understood why our characters made the certain choices that they made, but then there were moments where I was just very frustrated, and it left a very itchy feeling on my chest that it felt like something was just like our two characters just being stubborn just to be stubborn. So this one, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It was an average read for me, but I still enjoyed the idea of it. I also started realizing that these books in the series remind me a lot like the Bromance Book Club series by Liese K. Adams. Our characters really like to read books in order to figure out what women's emotions and inner feelings are, especially romance novels, and or they quote like William Shakespeare, and they think that like this will help them with the females in their lives. And then obviously this one also follows the plot line of the first Romance Book Club series, which is Marriage in Trouble and them reading books to go save it. So I don't know, you do with what you will with that kind of information. Okay, so the last book in the series is called With You Forever, and I read this one. This one follows a marriage of convenience trope. Our two characters have to get married so that he can earn like this crazy amount of inheritance, and they're not supposed to fall in love with each other, but obviously the more time they spend with each other in the same home, forced close proximity, them having conversations with each other, them understanding each other's like business. And then this book obviously has two characters that have things in their lives that deals with these issues in their lives, that lowers the quality of their life by a little bit, and that makes the other partner have to understand that if you're going to pursue a long-term relationship with this person, you have to understand that their health is not always going to be perfect, and that they need some special caretaking here and there, and they need compassion, they need understanding. So it's that type of romance, and I liked it. Like, I thought it was a good romance. I mean, it's cute that it was marriage of convenience, but it wasn't anything like special to make me feel like this was my favorite book. So I gave it an average 3 out of 5 stars. But anyways, that is it for all the books that I did manage to read in December that are notable mentions that you should add to your TBR. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys again next time in a new one. Bye guys.